The warning lights pulsed crimson across the excavation chamber as Kellen Matthews adjusted his protective suit. For the sixth time that day, the containment systems were fluctuating. 6 months on this desolate rock, and the alien artifact continued to defy their understanding. Remember, under no circumstances are you to make contact with the stasis field. Dr. Jensen's voice crackled through his headset. We've lost 3 researchers already to energy discharge. Your job is to recalibrate the sensors, not play hero. Copy that, Kellen responded, eyeing the glowing hexagonal pod that dominated the center of the chamber. Inside, barely visible through the shimmering barrier, floated what appeared to be a humanoid figure. The military contractors who funded the expedition claimed it was merely a weapon, but Kellen had his doubts. Something about the way the energy pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. As the senior researchers evacuated the unstable chamber, Kellen remained behind, authorized to complete the emergency calibration. The vast cavern, carved with symbols no linguist had deciphered, seemed to watch him as he worked. The fluctuations worsened. His diagnostic equipment showed the containment field weakening at an unprecedented rate. Whatever or whoever was inside that pod might soon be exposed. Dr. Jensen, we have a critical failure in progress, he called into his comm. Static answered him. A sudden power surge knocked him forward, and Kellen stumbled, his gloved hand passing through the weakened stasis field. A jolt of energy shot up his arm like liquid fire, dropping him to his knees. The pain was excruciating, but he couldn't pull away. No, 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 he gasped, watching in horror as fractures of light spread across the pod's surface. The containment protocols hadn't just failed, he'd triggered something. The pod shattered in a blinding explosion that should have killed him. Instead, Kellen found himself thrown against the chamber wall, miraculously alive as the dust settled. Through the haze, a figure emerged. She was humanoid but clearly alien, tall and powerful, with iridescent skin that shifted between deep blue and violet. Battle scars traced elegant patterns across her exposed arms and face. Her eyes, piercing and silver, locked onto him immediately. Ancient armor, as fluid as mercury, began forming around her body, materializing from particles in the air. Kellen scrambled backward as she approached, radiating power that made the air crackle. The universal translator at his belt activated automatically, struggling to process her language. Human, her voice resonated with a metallic undertone. You have broken the seal. I didn't mean to, he stammered. She knelt before him, studying him with unsettling intensity. Her armor continued to assemble itself, plates interlocking across her torso and limbs. Your kind was not meant to exist when I was imprisoned. They feared you, even then, what you might become. A translator delay, surely. Who are you? I am Valera, warlord of the 7th House. She raised her hand, energy dancing between her fingertips, the last defender against the corruption. Kellen closed his eyes, certain she would end his life for the transgression. Instead, her fingers brushed his temple, sending a shock of connection through his consciousness. The bond of release ties us now, she said, her expression softening slightly. I cannot harm my liberator, it is the ancient law. The chamber doors burst open as security forces rushed in, weapons raised. Valera moved with impossible speed, placing herself between Kellen and the guards. Her armor completed itself in a cascade of light, and she extended her arms. Energy pulsed from her body, freezing the guards in a stasis field of her own creation. They will awaken unharmed, she said, turning back to Kellen, but we must leave this place. My enemies will have felt my awakening across the stars. Enemies? What enemies? Kellen asked, still processing everything. Valera's expression darkened. The ones who imprisoned me, the ones who feared I would expose their lies. She extended her hand. Come, you've unleashed something they have feared for millennia, human. And now, whether you desire it or not, our fates are intertwined. Against all logic and training, Kellen took her hand. The research facility was in chaos as Kellen and Valera raced through emergency-lit corridors. Alarms blared while security forces scrambled to contain the situation they barely understood. Valera moved with deadly precision, her armor flowing like liquid metal as she neutralized anyone who attempted to stop them. I won't let you kill them, Kellen shouted as she incapacitated 2 guards with a wave of energy. They live, she replied coolly. My quarrel is not with your kind. They reached the hangar bay where research vessels were docked. Valera placed her palm against the security panel, sending pulses of energy through the system. The doors hissed open. How did you? Your technology is primitive, she said, entering the hangar. like children playing with remnants of forgotten gods. Kellen followed, acutely aware of the strange connection between them. When they separated more than a few meters, an uncomfortable pressure built in his chest. The bond, Valera explained, noticing his discomfort. It tethers us until I regain my full strength. Had I been freed by one of my own kind, this would not be necessary. And why is that? Why could only a human free you? Kellen asked as they approached a small interstellar shuttle. Before she could answer, the hangar roof exploded inward. Through the gaping hole descended a craft unlike anything in the human fleet, angular, obsidian, pulsing with the same energy that emanated from Valera's armor. "They've found us already," she hissed, pushing Kellen behind her as four humanoid figures dropped from the craft. Their armor resembled hers but darker, corrupted. "The warlord awakens," one spoke, voice distorted. "The ascendancy demands your return to stasis, Valera." "The ascendancy fell centuries ago," she replied, energy building around her fists. "What remains wears its skin like parasites." The battle that followed happened faster than Kellen could process. Valera moved like light itself, her armor extending weapons that cut through her enemy's defenses. But she was still weakened from millennia of imprisonment, and for each attacker she felled, her movements slowed. "Kellen," she called out, blocking a blast of dark energy. "Your touch, I need your touch." Understanding somehow, he rushed forward, grasping her shoulder. The connection between them flared brilliantly. Renewed power surged through Valera, and she unleashed a wave of energy that sent the remaining attackers crashing into the walls. "We must go," she said, pulling him toward the shuttle. "More will come." As they boarded and initiated launch sequences, Kellen's mind raced. "How did they know you were free so quickly?" "They have watched this site for centuries," she replied, her hands dancing across the unfamiliar controls with surprising competence. "Your people believe they discovered these ruins by chance. Nothing could be further from truth." The shuttle broke atmosphere as Valera explained. She had been a military leader during a devastating civil war among her people, the Assyriani. When she discovered corruption at the highest levels of their government, beings who were not what they appeared, she was branded a traitor and sealed away. "My allies created the seal with a specific key," she said as stars streaked past them. "One that required genetic markers my enemies would never suspect could break it." "Human DNA," Kellen realized. "Your kind didn't exist when I was imprisoned," she nodded. "My people foresaw your evolution. They engineered the lock knowing that someday the right human would come. So my mistake was destiny," she finished, turning to him with silver eyes that suddenly seemed less alien. "You were always meant to free me, Kellen, and now we are bound until the war that never ended can finally reach its conclusion." As the shuttle accelerated toward the stars, Kellen felt something shifting between them, a connection deeper than the physical bond, drawing them together across species and time. "Hold steady," Valera instructed, her hands positioned over Kellen's on the ship's navigation controls. The warmth of her touch sent pulses of energy through his body that were simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying. 3 weeks had passed since their escape. They'd narrowly avoided capture twice, surviving only through Valera's combat prowess and Kellen's unexpected ability to amplify her powers through their connection. "There," she said, pointing to a distant nebula that sparkled with unusual patterns. "The veiled reaches, we can lose them there." The stolen research vessel shuddered as they pushed its engines beyond recommended limits. Behind them, 2 Assyriani hunter ships closed the distance, their weapons charging. "They're locking on," Kellen warned, reading the ship's alerts. Valera pressed her palm to his chest, and suddenly Kellen felt her consciousness intertwining with his. It was an intimate connection that still startled him, the sharing of thoughts, instincts, reflexes. "Let me guide you," her voice echoed in his mind. Together they executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, diving into the nebula's swirling gases and radiation fields. The hunter ships followed, but the nebula's interference disrupted their targeting systems. "We cannot run forever," Valera said later as they drifted in a hidden pocket of calm within the stellar storm. Her armor had partially retracted, revealing more of her iridescent skin. The battle scars Kellen had noticed upon her awakening seemed to pulse with faint light. "You said we're heading to your allies," Kellen replied, watching her examine the ship's damaged systems. "If any remain after all this time," she paused, turning to him with an unreadable expression. "The bond between us, it grows stronger." Kellen nodded, acutely aware of the connection that had evolved from uncomfortable necessity to something that felt increasingly natural. Is that normal? No, she admitted. The ancient texts spoke of liberation bonds as temporary tethers. This is different. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's proximity alert. Something was approaching, something massive. A sanctuary vessel, Valera breathed, hope flaring in her eyes for the first time. They survive. The massive ship that emerged from the nebula dwarfed their shuttle. It bore similar design elements to Valera's armor, elegant yet formidable. A tractor beam enveloped them, drawing them into a cavernous docking bay. When the airlock opened, they were met by a delegation of Asirani, tall, elegant beings with the same iridescent skin as Valera, though none bore the distinctive battle scars that marked her body. Their leader stepped forward, eyes widening at the sight of Valera. "The warlord returns," he said, dropping to one knee. "The prophecy fulfills itself." "Rise, Talon," Valera commanded, recognition in her voice. "You bear the face of my lieutenant." "His descendant," Talon explained. 20 generations have watched for your return." As they were escorted through the ship, Kellen marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. The sanctuary vessel was alive with energy similar to Valera's, systems responding to thought and touch. In private quarters, Valera explained more of her history. The beings who had imprisoned her, the Void Ascendancy, were not truly Asirani but parasitic entities that had infiltrated their civilization, taking control of the ruling council. "They cannot sustain their forms indefinitely," she explained. "They require hosts. When I discovered this, I became their greatest threat." "And now," Kellen asked. "Now they have spread throughout the galaxy. Your people have already been infiltrated, though you do not yet know it." That night, as they prepared for sleep in adjoining chambers, the distance between them became physically painful, more intense than before. "The bond strengthens," Valera said, entering his room. "We must remain closer." In the dim light, her beauty was otherworldly. The armor had fully retracted, leaving her in a simple garment that accentuated her warrior's physique. "There is another aspect to the liberation bond," she said quietly, sitting beside him, "one I have not spoken of." Her hand found his, fingers intertwining. The energy between them surged, warming his skin. "It was designed not just to free me," she continued, "but to create a perfect conduit between our kinds. The human who freed me was destined to be my strength when mine faltered." "And more?" Kellen asked, suddenly aware of how close they had become. Her silver eyes met his. "If you wish it." Their first kiss sent waves of energy cascading through the room, systems flickering in response. The bond between them flared brilliantly as ancient destiny and present desire merged into something neither had anticipated. The sanctuary fleet moved through the shadows of a binary star system, 12 ships strong, the last free Asirani not under the influence of the Void Ascendancy. In the command center of the flagship, Kellen stood beside Valera as she addressed the council of resistance leaders. 2 months had passed since their arrival, 2 months of training, planning, and deepening connection that had transformed them both. Kellen's body now bore faint traces of luminescence where Valera's touch lingered, while her battle scars had begun to glow with human warmth. "The Ascendancy controls 17 major systems," Talon reported, manipulating the holographic display. "Their influence spreads through key positions in human government as well." "And the artifact?" Valera asked. "Secured in the inner sanctum. We await your command to activate it." The council dispersed, leaving Kellen and Valera alone with the star charts. She traced the patterns of enemy movements with a practiced eye. "You're worried," Kellen observed, feeling her concern through their bond. "The parasite entities have grown stronger than I anticipated," she admitted. "In my time, they could only maintain host control for limited periods. Now they have evolved." Kellen placed his hand over hers, feeling the now familiar surge of energy between them. Their connection had become vital to both, a sharing of strength, knowledge, and increasingly, emotion. "Show me the artifact," he said. The inner sanctum lay at the heart of the sanctuary vessel, a chamber pulsing with the same energy that powered Valera's abilities. At its center floated a crystalline structure that responded to their presence, illuminating as they approached. "The Heart of Ascension," Valera explained, "not a weapon as your people classified it, but a truth revealer. It can expose the parasitic entities by forcing them to reveal their true nature." "Then why hasn't it been used?" Because it requires a catalyst of tremendous power, she said, turning to him, a complete merging of the liberation bond. The implications hung between them. Their physical relationship had intensified over the weeks, each encounter strengthening their connection. But what Valera proposed was something more profound, a total fusion of their essences. It could destroy you, she warned. No human was meant to channel such energy. Before Kellen could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. They rushed back to the command center to find chaos unfolding. Betrayal, Talon gasped, blood seeping from a wound in his side. The 4th and 7th ships infiltrated. On the displays, sanctuary vessels were turning against their own, weapons firing. Somehow, the parasitic entities had found a way aboard. We need the artifact now, Valera decided, pulling Kellen toward the exit, ready or not. As they fought their way back to the inner sanctum, Kellen saw the parasites in their true form for the first time, shadowy entities emerging from the bodies of fallen Assyrians, seeking new hosts. Only Valera's energy barriers kept them at bay. In the sanctum, she sealed the doors behind them. The merging must happen now, she said urgently. The heart can reveal all parasites simultaneously across all connected systems, but only if activated at full power. Will I survive? Kellen asked. Valera's expression softened. I don't know, she admitted, but without this, both our species face extinction. He nodded, taking her hands. Then let's finish what was started millennia ago. They stood before the heart of Ascension as it pulsed in response to their proximity. Valera's armor retracted completely as she pressed her body to his. Their foreheads touched, and the liberation bond flared between them. My people engineered this moment across time, she whispered. Your genetic structure is the key that unlocks not just my prison, but the salvation of worlds. As their lips met, the energy between them built to impossible levels. Kellen felt himself dissolving into Valera, their consciousnesses merging into something greater than either alone. The heart of Ascension absorbed their combined essence, growing brighter until the entire chamber was bathed in blinding light. In that moment of perfect union, Kellen understood everything. Why only a human could free her, why their bond had grown so strong, and what the completion of that bond would mean for them both. The heart of Ascension erupted with energy that cascaded through the ship, then outward through subspace channels to every connected system. On thousands of worlds, parasitic entities were suddenly exposed, forced out of their hosts in a simultaneous revelation that could not be hidden or denied. In the inner sanctum, Kellen collapsed into Valera's arms, his body transformed. Luminescent patterns matching her battle scars now covered his skin, pulsing with shared energy. The liberation bond had become permanent, irreversible, two beings from different worlds partially merged into something unprecedented. You survive, she whispered, cradling him as the ship trembled around them. Did it work? He asked weakly. The doors to the sanctum burst open. Talon stood there, bloodied but alive. Warlord, the parasites are exposed everywhere, but the Ascendancy flagship approaches, they come for the heart. Despite his weakened state, Kellen could feel new power flowing through him. He stood with Valera's assistance, their energies intertwining visibly now. They cannot be allowed to destroy the heart, Valera said. It maintains the exposure effect. They made their way to the command center, where the view screens showed the massive Ascendancy flagship bearing down on them. The remaining sanctuary vessels formed a protective formation, but they were outgunned. I can feel them, Kellen said suddenly. The parasites, their consciousness. The bond lets me sense them. Valera's eyes widened. That shouldn't be possible. The merging went beyond what your ancestors anticipated, he replied. I can do more than just amplify your power now. I can direct it. Understanding dawned on her face. Together, they approached the ship's control interface. As one, they placed their hands on the console. Energy flowed from Kellen into Valera, then through her into the ship's systems in a way never before attempted. The sanctuary vessel responded, weapons charging with unprecedented power. The first volley tore through the Ascendancy flagship's shields as if they weren't there. Impossible, Talon breathed. No, Valera corrected, prophesied. She turned to the gathered Assyrians, her voice commanding. This is why the bond was designed, not just to free me, but to create something new, a perfect union of our species' strengths. As the battle raged around them, Kellen and Valera maintained their connection to the ship's systems. Through their bond, they coordinated the entire sanctuary fleet with impossible precision, predicting the enemy's movements before they occurred. The Ascendancy forces, accustomed to fighting through deception and infiltration, found themselves outmatched by enemies who could now sense their true nature. Their flagship, realizing defeat was imminent, turned its weapons on the heart of Ascension's chamber. "No," Valera shouted. Together they created a shield of pure energy around the heart, absorbing the devastating blast. The effort nearly killed them both, but their merged consciousness distributed the strain between them. When the Ascendancy flagship finally shattered under the combined fire of the Sanctuary fleet, cheers erupted throughout the ship. But Kellen and Valera remained silent, aware that this was only the beginning. Later, as they stood alone before the heart of Ascension, its light now permanently altered by their merged essence, Valera took Kellen's hand. "My imprisonment, your assignment to that site, your curiosity, none of it was chance," she said softly. "My allies orchestrated events across millennia, calculating the exact moment when the right human would touch the containment field." "A long game," Kellen mused. "The longest," she agreed, "and now we begin a new one. The parasites are exposed but not defeated. Many worlds will need our help to purge their influence completely." She turned to face him fully, her silver eyes meeting his now similarly hued gaze. "The bond cannot be broken now. We are something neither human nor Asirani, something new." Kellen nodded, accepting the truth he had felt since the moment of their complete merging. "I wouldn't want it broken." "No," she agreed, her armor retracting as she drew closer. "Nor would I." As their lips met, energy spiraled around them, their shared destiny finally embraced in full. The war that had begun centuries before Kellen's birth would continue, but with a weapon the enemy had never anticipated. Two beings from different worlds, bound by an ancient plan and a very new love, creating something the universe had never seen before. The mistake that wasn't a mistake had fulfilled its purpose, and in that fulfillment, both had found something neither had expected: completion.